Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Himbar, and today I have another tag video for you. As of recording this is the last tag I've been tagged in. I am finally caught up. This was a tag, or rather I should probably tell you, it's the Mookse and Bryce bucket list tag. Now, this tag was originally created by Shawn the Book Maniac. I was tagged by David Wiley probably about a month ago at this point. I'm looking forward to getting to this tag. It's really, I think it's based on, it was inspired by or something by Mookse and Bryce podcast. I'm not really familiar with it. It's basically a bucket list tag though. It's just 10 books you want to read before you kick the bucket, right? So, now, I don't really plan for books like way out in the future, so this is kind of a TBR for me, but not in like, I'm a big mood reader too, so I don't know when I'll get to these books, but these are books I definitely have plans on getting to, hopefully in the next year, but there's no guarantees that'll happen. So I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. First off, we have Jarell of Jory, I'm not really sure how to say it. So I decided to start off with this one. I don't actually have my copy yet, though I did order one recently. This is some original Sword and Sorcery stuff. C.L. Moore, I believe that's who the author is, was actually a woman. I don't know what the C stands for, but it's interesting because her main character is a woman and she was written by a woman. This is around the same time as Conan was being written, and I believe these stories were also from Weird Tales, or the same place where most of these Conan stories and original like H.P. Lovecraft, Clark Ashton Smith stories were being published. She's definitely not as popular. I mean, can't say she's getting a lot of attention, but I'm going to read it. I think there's only 5 stories, and get back to y'all on that. But I am looking forward to it, because it sounds pretty good. So if anyone wants another good Sword and Sorcery recommendation, there's one. And then I have The Gate of Ivril, or Ivril. This is by C.J. Cherryh, I think. I don't actually know. It's the first of her Morgaine cycle, though, books, I believe. And I don't have a copy of this one either, so it's kind of why it's on this list. And I hear it's good Sword and Sorcery feel of science fantasy, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. It's one that sounds really, really awesome, though. And it's got some cool Michael Whalen covers, too, so what's not to like? And then we have A Wizard of Earthsea, which is a book I actually do have. I didn't grab any of these books, though, if you couldn't tell. And that is a book that I am looking forward to. Of course, it's by Ursula K. Le Guin. I haven't read any Le Guin. I have 2 of her books. I also have The Left Hand of Darkness. But I'm really looking forward to starting Earthsea. It's not very long. It should be, I think, up my alley. I like classic fantasy, if it wasn't obvious. And so I think I'll enjoy it. I really do, I think. And hopefully I'll get to it soon, just like this other classic fantasy, The Chronicles of Narnia. I planned to start this one a couple months ago. I didn't have time. I haven't started it yet. I'm really thinking about doing audiobooks for this one. I mean, I don't really do audiobooks, though. I only really do them for, like, The Hobbit. That's it. And so I think I may be able to get away with it for Narnia, though I'd like to read it physically before I do an audiobook. They're not very long. It wouldn't take me much time at all. I could probably do it a day, at least for each book. But we'll see. I really need to get to Narnia, though, by C.S. Lewis. I haven't really read anything by C.S. Lewis. I want to get to his space trilogy as well. And then we have Lord Fowl's Bane. This is the first of the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant books. These are, of course, by Stephen R. Donaldson. Now, these are pretty famous. They're kind of like they're not the imitation fantasy, they're the innovation fantasy, right? This is like, I want to distance myself and be definitely unique from Tolkien, at the time this was written. And so, I mean, even our character right here is not even like a really good guy. And it's more of a portal fantasy, so it's not like, high fantasy or anything, but it sounds really cool. I think it sounds really cool. And I have a copy of it, I just haven't gotten to it yet. And then we have A Voyage to Arcturus, which is by David Lindsay, I believe. I should look that up. This is a book I also have a copy of. This book is over 100 years old. It is sci-fi. This is a book that, I don't know, just seems rather interesting and maybe slightly influential, but maybe like only in like undercurrent ways on the genre. I believe it even has like separate pronouns for these people on Arcturus, which I believe is actually a star, but in this book I think it's a planet. I'm not really sure, honestly. I haven't read it, but it's not very long, and I hear it's not even like amazing or anything, but I wanted to read it anyways because I don't have a problem reading older books. And then we have, I believe it's Lucan's Pharsalia. I do have a copy of this. I read a little bit of it, but not too much. And this, of course, is about Pharsalia and during the Civil War, if I'm not mistaken. I got a copy of this for a class I took in college, and I didn't have to read it, but I got it anyways for my project because my project had to be an essay, and I asked essay or in a video, and I asked my teacher if I could do it in poetry instead, and I did do a poem instead. I may share that poem with you sometimes. I'm not super proud of the poem. I didn't know, I'm not like writing like great epics, and Pharsalia definitely is. It is poetry. Pretty intense. And so if you like classical works, I'd probably recommend it to you, but again, I haven't really read much of it, so I've read tiny bits. And then I also wanted to go with a nonfiction book. There's the Oxford Handbook of Anglo-Saxon Archaeology. Now I've read about a fifth of this, but the monstrosity is about over 1,000 pages long. Really interesting. It's just a bunch of different articles by different experts in the field. I'm a big fan of Anglo-Saxon language and, like Germanic philology in general, but I have a hard time because that is almost exclusively focused on literature, sometimes with codicology, but, it doesn't really tell you how the people really lived and where they lived and what was going on there, because I was an anthropology student for a while, and though I only was able to take one archaeology class for that, my school is pretty small, I do find it interesting, and I kind of want to be more well-rounded as far as early English history or just Anglo-Saxon history in general. I want to be able to know what I'm talking about just besides language. Now, I like focusing on language because I think it's so important. I can connect every day I'm speaking English to, something they spoke, more than 1,000 years ago. I think knowing more than just the language, I think, is also something I want to be more well-rounded than that. So the Oxford English Handbook of Anglo-Saxon Archaeology was something recommended to me as a good introduction. A good introduction that was also 1,000 pages long, but yeah, I need to get back to it, so I need to finish it. And then we have Magician by Raymond E. Feist. I have the one-volume edition, or one of the one-volume editions, and this is one I've been trying to get to for months, honestly. I may get to it before the end of the year, for all I know, but it's one I just really want to get to. I hear good things about Rift War, and it's just something I need to get to. Along those same lines is Dragon's Bane by Barbara Hambly. Again, I have 2 copies of this book, and I've yet to read it. I tried to get to it earlier this year. I was trying to get to it last month. I think this month before I decided on Sword and Sorcery in November, and then hopefully again maybe I'll get to it before the end of the year. But Dragon's Bane by Barbara Hambly, though, that's number 10. And now maybe that's not a super well-rounded list. I should probably put more sci-fi on there. But I kind of just thought of this on my own, and kind of books that, like, I don't have any immediate plans to read, but were books that I was hoping to get to sooner rather than later. Again, I'm a super big mood reader, and so this list, of course, is probably 1,000 books long at this point. I just narrowed it down to 10 for this video. Okay, this is editing Liam, the first time you've ever seen him, but I realized after recording that I had not tagged anyone and I had intended to. So I just wanted to tag Jonathan at Words and Time real quick, Treebeard, Niko's book reviews, and Bryce at ShelfCentered if y'all haven't already done this at the point this actually goes live, because I filmed this way before it's going up because Thanksgiving's around the corner. So anyways, feel free to be tagged and feel free to ignore it if you want to. So anyways, I'll catch you next time. Have you read any of these books? What have you enjoyed about them? What have you disliked about them? And if you haven't read any of those books, then let me know. Maybe you can read them with me. So anyways, this is Liam the Liam Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.